Hello. So in this video I'm going to show how we can set up WeightShift to run with distributed processing to help out the AI side. Okay, so we're going to start with just having unzipped the package that we delivered to you. So here I've unzipped it. Before I make a start on this, I'll just show inside the help directory. Then there is a little bit of information which is really going to duplicate what I'm about to tell you. So if you go into help and look in the examples, then there's some help about actually setting things up to run WeightShift with AI and distributed processing, which can help with some of the examples, as well as obviously your real scenes. So yes, under here, under setting things up, it says how you can run WeightShift as a helper. Okay, but I'll walk you through it anyway. Okay, so the first thing we would do, we would start up WeightShift itself. So I would double click on the WS.bat file. Actually already started that, just because it takes a few minutes to, well, it takes about a minute to start up. So here we have WeightShift menu. First thing we can do is enable the AI side of things. Okay, and then we're going to load an example scene. So let's just load up the lamp example scene. Okay, right. So if we go and start the simulation on this, then after a few seconds, it will give us a bit of information up here. Okay, so it gives us the estimated time that it's going to take to process the scene. So this is estimating 4 minutes from now. And it tells us it's using 8 threads. In addition, it tells us that it's going to be listening on a port on the local computer for some help offered by another WeightShift instance. So I'm going to show how we can start up that helper instance of WeightShift. So it's listening on port 43234. We're also going to need the IP address. So let's just grab that. So IP config. So running IP config. So 192.168.1.64. Okay. Right. So I have a connection here, a remote desktop connection to my laptop. On the laptop, I've also unzipped the same version of WeightShift here. We're going to open a command window in this location. And we're going to run WeightShift. So I'm running it with the little batch file here. So if you're running under Linux, then there'll be the equivalent mar.sh and WS.sh. So here I'm going to use the batch file. Everything else is identical, so it should all be the same. So we're going to run WS.bat. You can look at what options you can pass in if you want. But the important thing here is that we're going to just tell it one option, which is we're going to pass in the server address, which is the IP address we just mentioned. I think it was 64. And then the port number, so we go into IP address and colon, then port number. It's that one up here that it's listening on, 43234. Right, so it starts up and immediately it will connect to the instance of Maya. So if we go back to the Maya up here, we can see now it's reporting that one client is connected. It's also reporting that 16 threads are available for processing rather than 8. And actually, in the time estimate, the estimated time to completion, it just suddenly dropped down from 69 seconds to 36 seconds. So it pretty soon it updates its estimate of how long the job is going to take to run. So once this is connected, you can leave this running for as long as you like. I tend to leave it running for multiple days, and then the AI processing will just go faster on this instance of Maya. It's also resilient to, it hasn't quite finished, but I'm going to kill that instance of the WeightShift running as a helper. And even though I killed it, I think slightly before it had finished the job, it doesn't matter. It handles the process here coming up and down. I'm just going to start it again. So I can connect and disconnect. It's absolutely fine about that. In addition, if I have, so I can start this if I have a spare machine, as I do. My laptop is spare at the moment. If I've got multiple machines around the office, then I can run this on multiple machines, and multiple helpers can connect to the instance of Maya, and you'll see the number of clients going up here. Now it's worth making a note of the port number, because if you run Maya with WeightShift multiple times on the same machine, it will choose a unique port, and so if I ran Maya again on this machine, on this desktop machine, the next instance of Maya would choose port number 43235. It just does a quick search in the area, and I can actually pass it multiple server addresses. So I can 168.1.64.432. There we go. So if I run this command line, then this helper instance of WeightShift would then help out multiple instances of Maya on the same machine. Similarly, I can run this and I can tell it to connect to instances of Maya running on my desktop machine and another machine in the network, and so on. So I can pass in any number of server addresses on the command line here. So with this command line, it should actually be really very simple to run some simple tests, straightforward tests using any spare machines you have available. They'll help out the instance of Maya as it runs. If or when you get to the point of actually wanting to have these helpers running on your server farm, then you have a number of options, I guess. I mean, you could simply have a process which runs permanently. So for example, if I run this here, there isn't any work to be done, so it's gonna sit here. Interesting. Oh yes, in this case it hasn't actually finished up here. I'm just going to pause the processing, stop the processing over here. Okay, so now when I look at the task manager, from this little spike just as I have in the task manager, basically it's sitting there, it's not doing any work. So it's perfectly fine to have instances of the helper process sitting there. When there's no work to be done, they don't consume any CPU. So as I say, you could simply have these running, on startup on your random machines, and they'll use the process. They'll use the processor when they can. If you have a scheduling system, as I'm sure you do, then it might be that you want to fire up instances of this helper when they're needed, and then remove them when they're not. And one way to do that will be to, you'd have to build, we can give you a little bit of assistance, but you could, for example, build in a couple of buttons into the UI here. So when Maya's up and running, you could add a button. So when you click it, then it runs a little script that it gets the local IP address, gets the port number, and then sends that as data to start up a job on your rend farm. So basically, your rend farm would then queue a job, which when it gets through, it would spawn an instance of WeightShift running on the command line like this, and it will pass it the server address. It would pass it the address of the Maya instance with the IP address and the port number, and then if you don't do anything else, that instance would just continue to run, but your management software could monitor the number in this column here, the total number queued, and basically when this number doesn't increase, let's say if you monitor this every 30 seconds, if this number hasn't changed over 30 seconds, then it indicates that whatever work was being done, it's kind of finished. So your animators could have a button here which they just click, spawns up an instance of WeightShift as a helper that will then connect to here, and it will assist with the processing. But when the processing is finished, the instance will be killed and then just go away. So that's that. So one more thing is that when you run, so if you want to run this, and by default it uses as many hardware threads as are available, which means that it can be quite computationally heavy and can really slow down this machine. So if you're running it on, for example, on a machine which you might only use for, you know, if it's a spare machine or it's a machine you only use for sort of light tasks like, you know, email and web browsing, then you can also limit the number of threads it creates. So get that option. Here's the number of planning threads up here. So for example, if I just give it 4 planning threads, if I then run the scene, then it should it should use a lot less CPU basically. Obviously it won't offer as much assistance. So I guess we look in here, WeightShift here. So before it was getting around about 80 or 90% CPU usage. So now it's, you know, we're really throttling the CPU usage that WeightShift is using. So that might be quite useful because it means you can continue. You could have this helper process running and actually continue using the machine.